Alright, we are live. Welcome to the most anticipated game of the Latvian Frisbee season. Salaspils Wild Things against Salaspils Juniors. Just a couple more minutes until it's time to go. In the spirit of camaraderie, got a nice pre-game spirit circle. A little pep talk from Goosers. Alright, and it looks like we're ready to go. Giannis and Goosers to flip. And it looks like Giannis won. Alright, time is running. Both sides have a disc though, so I'm not sure. Okay, it looks like the old timers are set to receive. Very experienced line out there on both sides. Let's see if the energy of Salaspils Juniors can put some pressure on the old timers here. And already out the back. So Goosers will take the disc from the brick mark. A quick throw to Igor's on the line. Back to Goosers in the middle. Nothing fancy from Wild Things. Just some quick movement around the disc, but good patience from them to keep possession despite hard man D. Again, another short pass to Torines on the line. And 1-0 old timers. That was Torines to Krishes for 1-0. Both teams with some changes. We'll see if the juniors, who have a pretty young line out there comparatively, can use the same patience and put the disc in the end zone. So Jaunie from the corner of the end zone centers it to Arvids and back to Jaunie. Up the line to Gregors. Again up the line. And 1-all. Quick point from Thoms to Gregors. Really quick offense from the juniors, showing that extra bit of energy, that youth in their legs. And the disc is in play to Martins, I think. Up the line, and a quick blade over the top to Tornes, who gives it back to Gusars in the middle. Again, old timers working the disc patiently. Ooh, and a turnover from Gusars. Not a great blade. Can the juniors break here? Didzis on the line. Looks to give it back to Arvids up the line for a couple meters. Back to the center. And again. So good patience here after the turn from the juniors. Wild Things with an extra man in the zone. Poaching a bit. Try to lock down the end zone and prevent the blade to the back corner. So the juniors keep an extra man around the disc. Let's see if the Wild Things can force them into an error, or if they can use the space effectively, and that's a break. Juniors with the first break of the game on their second attempt. Bit of frustration from the Wild Things to give away the disc so cheaply. Unforced error. So Gusars to receive in the end zone. Some movement deep. A lot of pressure from the juniors. Forces a tough throw. But some good movement here from the Wild Things to get some momentum. And a big throw up the line to Tornes to get some momentum back. 2-all. So that's a big point for Wild Things. After making an unforced error to give the break opportunity to juniors, they find a relatively easy O point, but the juniors definitely putting a lot of pressure on them. Let's see if they have an answer on defense. A big throw to the end zone. And a D. Again, risky full field throw. So the Wild Things have a chance to break and get the game back on serve. Two guys on line. Reines with the disc. Centered back to Krishes, who gives it back to Martins in the middle. And Roberts up the line. Centered back to, I honestly don't know his name, to Martins. Again, good patience from Wild Things. Working the disc around the center. Ooh, but a drop. So Juniors will have their chance to hold. But again, some poaching from the old timers. Try to lock down the end zone. Arvid's back with the disc. Centered back to Jan, who almost throws to someone who's not there. Up the line, back to the center. A blade to open up the space. Back centered to Arvids, who looks for the blade. And Arvids up the line, 3-2. So Wild Things with a chance to break, but they just couldn't quite keep the composure. And Juniors do well to put the disc back in the end zone when they get the chance. The pressure starting to build. So Gusers from the corner. Up the space to Tornes. Again to Roberts. And an easy point from Wild Things. So we're all tied again. Good smooth offense from Wild Things. Juniors continue to put the pressure on, but the Wild Things are able to move the disc up the line on the open side. Let's see if they continue with the man, or maybe they try some pressure D. Looks like man again. Didzis on the line. Fakes the scuba, but up the line to Arvids, who looks to the break side and centers it back to Didzis. Again back to Arvids. And back further to Giannis, who puts a blade up to the sideline on the break side. Scuba. Arvids manages to stay in bounds and puts a quick scuba over the top to Giannis. 4-3 Juniors. So both teams pretty much able to do whatever they want on offense here, though Juniors still lead with a break. So Didzis to pull. Puts it at the front of the end zone to Gusers, who puts it up the line to Roberts. Not a lot of movement on the field from the Wild Things, and a bit of miscommunication, but Gusers manages to keep it, and a big blade by Igors to Roberts, who pulls it in 4-4. So another relatively simple O point. Giannis to receive. Immediately puts up the blade to Toms, who can't bring it in the end zone, even though he had it in his hand. So Tornes able to put enough pressure on to force the error. Another chance for a Wild Things break here. But a lot of defensive pressure. And Wild Things are forced back to the corner of the end zone, but Tornes receives some pressure. And on the line to Igors, who fakes a big throw and resets it to Tornes. Back to Martins. All the movement coming from the handlers here. Igors manages to keep it in, just drags his foot, and gets hit in the face by Didzis, who accepts the foul. Back to the center. Arvid's looking to poach there. Ooh. Enough on it that he brings it in. But again, Wild Things having to be patient here. All the movement coming from the backfield. Ooh. Igor's with an unforced error again. Maybe just a little impatient. And gives Juniors the chance to hold. 5-4. Juniors able to hold, but they are giving chances to the Wild Things, who just can't quite put that break together despite being given a couple of opportunities. They're gonna have to put a couple of those away if they want to take control of this game. That turnover from Igors might come back to haunt him later in the game. So Gusars again from the back. I'm not sure if that's what he meant to do. Junior's getting physical here. Back to Reines. Ooh, puts a low blade, but Krish is on the power slide, reels it in. 5-all. So Wild Things again with a relatively simple O point. Able to do just enough, not let the Juniors get another chance to break. Let's see if the Wild Things can generate another turn here. Juniors making a couple hasty throws, but Wild Things are guilty of it too. So Arvids brings it down in the center. Gains a few yards to Tomj. And back to Arvids in the center. Jan is completely unguarded. Didzis on the line. Again up the line. To Gregors with a pretty green light throw, but Tom's able to bring it in. 6-5. So again, relatively simple low point. Gusars from the corner. Lots of pressure. Igors gets it back in the center. Puts it up to Roberts on the line. Back to Gusars in the middle. Quick scooper over the top to Igors, who puts up a hammer to Roberts, who's able to bring it in with relatively little pressure. 6-all. So again, Wild Things able to keep calm on the O point and generate the space to put it in the end zone. But their D-line offense just hasn't quite been the same. They're gonna have to put more pressure on as we approach halftime. So Gregors with the disc by the line. Ooh. Who maybe just doesn't do exactly what he wants with the disc, and Wild Things have a chance to get the break. Roberts in the middle. Puts it back to the line. Roberts able to take a lot of space. Still no one on the mark. Centers it back to Krishes, who fakes the blade, but keeps it. Ooh. No foul called. And another unforced error. Juniors with the chance to make up for that earlier throw. Back to Arvids in the middle. Who gives it back to Giannis. To Gregors, who again puts up a blade, but they're able to bring it in. 7-6, 1 point from half. So Juniors with some pretty green light throws here, but most of them are coming off. And again, Wild Things just not able to put it in the end zone when they get the turn, but they are generating turns, which is a good sign. So Goosers will take it from the brick mark. Or no, just from the corner. Puts the blade up to Martins, who gives the disc back, and the Lielais up the line for a few meters. A few more up the line. And back to the center. Lot of pressure, but a great cut from Tornis to find the space. Quick blade across to Lielais, who gives it back to Goosers. Who gives it straight back. Wild Things having to be really patient here. A quick scoober, and Deeds is able to come in and get the D. Great awareness. So injury called. Deeds gets the D, but has to step off the field. So Giannis to pick up the disc. Who gives it to Imans on the other side? Who gives it to Emils up the line? Back to the center. Back to the break side. And great awareness from Goosers to get the D back after he gave the turn away earlier. So Wild Things really having to work to find space. And timeout. Maybe give them a chance to rest and figure out how they're going to put the disc in the end zone. Definitely do not want to go into the half down 8-6. Especially as I believe Juniors are set to receive to start the second half. a big, big O point for the Wild Things. Gotta keep calm, even under some big defensive pressure from the juniors. So, a little bit of bracketing it looks like, or perhaps, ooh. Turn, unable to keep control of the disc as he stepped out of the field, but good spirit to give it away. So juniors with a chance to take half, 8-6. Big, big point here. Some pressure D from Wild Things, trying to keep the space closed in the end zone. Jans with the disc on the open side, up the line to Arvids, who looks at his options and puts the disc back into the center, but gets it back immediately. Across to Giannis, who gives Emils the scuba just on the line. Back to Arvids, and the juniors able to thread the needle and take half, 8-6. So juniors up a pair of breaks as we take the half. So Wild Things back on the field first, looking to turn the game around at the start of the second half, but they will have to pull. So they'll give the juniors a chance to take a 3-point lead to start the second half. Not impossible to come back from, but there haven't been a ton of opportunities for either team on the break. So Gusars to pull, and Giannis to receive in the back corner. Ooh, Torres with a great layout opportunity, just can't quite get it. Juniors moving the disc around well. So the downfield cutters not getting a ton of space, but Wild Things really focusing on not giving up the deep. Igors doesn't even go for it. You think probably he had a chance there, but he does not look happy with himself. 9-6. You gotta wonder why he didn't go for that. So a pretty short line here from the juniors. So Toms puts it in the back. Gooser centers to Christian. Igors looks like he has a point to prove. Putting in a tough shift out there. Scuba over the top to Igors, who gets it on the break side, who puts a high blade up, and Roberts does well to bring it in the back. 9-7. Wild Things able to keep their medal and put it in the end zone. But they're really going to have to start generating some breaks now if they want a chance to come back. And it's starting to look like the juniors might have what it takes to see this game out to the end. So Arvids brings it in around the brick mark, centers it to Toms, who gives it back. Giannis on the in cut, who puts up a blade, and they bring it in. 10-7. A quick offensive point from the juniors. Juniors really working the disc well, generating the opportunities, and showing a little bit of steel. So the Wild Things really need to focus on putting all of their O points in the end zone. Roberts with the disc on the line, looks upfield, and then returns it back to Gusars, who finds Taurenis again on the line, who puts up a nice outside-in backhand to Gusars, who had made a great upline cut. 10-8. So the offensive line doing their part. Now let's see if the defense can generate some turns and give Wild Things a chance to come back into the game. But the juniors with a big, big energetic line on the field. So Jans to receive in the end zone. Puts it up to Didzis immediately, who looks upfield and finds Toms on the line for a few meters, who puts a scuba back to Arvids, who gives it back to Didzis. Juniors working the disc quickly. A lot of guys finding space with their cuts. Back to Didzis in the center, who gives it straight back, who puts a blade up to Giannis on the break side, who unmarked puts a laser of a blade into Toms. 11-8. So Wild Things just not able to put much pressure. The juniors pretty much having their way with the cuts there. Starting to look like this game might just be out of their reach. So Didzis to pull, and Gusars to receive from the back of the end zone. Good pressure from juniors and not a ton of movement from Wild Things here. Ooh, and another unforced error, but it looks like there's a foul called. And he has not signaled if it's contested or uncontested yet. Contested foul maybe, no signals from Emils. So Wild Things with another chance. Roberts in the end zone on the break side, who finds Igor's in the middle, who gives it straight back to him, but a nice layout from Roberts to keep the disc. Ooh. Igor's finds Reines in the end zone, but maybe not the exact throw he wanted. So Wild Things dangerously close to a few turnovers there, but they're able to hold it. 11-9. So another break opportunity here for the Wild Things, who really need to start getting stringing a couple breaks together if they want to bring this back. Arvids to receive, who finds Toms on the break side from the front corner of the end zone, who puts up a big blade, and Arvids brings it in, gets above Reines. 12-9. So a lot to do for Wild Things, but their offense hasn't really been the problem. Juniors again with some good pressure on man defense. Emil's just about able to make the layout deep, but doesn't quite have enough. Up the line to Roberts, who puts it back in the center to Gusars, who gives it to Reines on the break side with a nice throw. Starting this on the line, unable to bring it in, and just in time gives it to Igors. Deedsy's just half a second late for that. 12-10. So again, Wild Things able to hold. But they still have not gotten the break in this entire game. So, Wild Things standing off the handlers a bit. Happy to see them move the disc right in front of them, but trying to prevent anything easy up the field. So, Toms finds Arvids back in the center, who gives it to Gregors on the right side of the field, who puts up a pretty green light throw, but finds Arvids anyway. So, Giannis again with a blade, finds his man in the back corner. 13-10. So, someone took a timeout. Probably Wild Things. Interesting that they've stuck mostly to their man defense, except when the juniors have gotten the disc around the end zone. But I guess they either don't have the energy to play zone, or they don't want to try and give the juniors the chance to put the disc up in the end zone. But either way, they just haven't done enough to adjust their defense. The offense continues to move the disc pretty easily, but they just can't find a way to stop the juniors. So, Goosers will take the disc from the brick mark. Igor's with the disc on the line, fakes the blade, but ends up giving it back to Goosers, who looks to the break side, but doesn't see anything he likes. Wild Things resetting the disc, but not making much ground. So Goosers puts the disc on the break side, rain this up the middle. Back to Goosers, who just has to speed up a little bit to bring that in. Fakes the blade, gives it back to Goosers in the center, who puts up a very quick scuba, finds Roberts, 13-11. But Wild Things continue to have to work the disc and make a lot of throws to put the disc in the end zone. So again, almost the last chance for the Wild Things to generate some turns. I'm not sure they've even caused a turnover in the second half of this game. So Thoms finds Giannis in the middle third, who puts up a hammer and finds Gregors in the end zone. So Juniors 1 point away from the victory here. $14-11. So not a lot of movement downfield from the Wild Things, but enough for Roberts, who puts up a hammer and floats it into the back of the end zone to Martins. Really, really nice throw to keep them in the game there. 14-12. Last chance for the Wild Things here. If Juniors score, they'll have gone the whole game without generating a single break. So the pressure is on. And the pull is pretty far out the side. So Juniors to take the disc from the break. Can feel the tension. So Didzi's on the sideline, finds Gregors up the line, who centers it back to Arvids, who breaks around and gets it back. Back around to Vidzis. So the Wild Things with a little bit of a poach, but Arvids finds Toms for the victory. 15-12. The old-timers just don't have enough. The students become the masters. And I'm sure that the Wild Things will never hear the end of this. But they look in good spirits as they shake hands. Thanks for watching.